Well, hello heroes and villains. My name is Ash and welcome back to my channel. As you probably know by now, this is going to be my part 2 of my side quest for my Library of Dragons Readathon. This is going to be the career path. So in this side quest, you're going to be deciding what job you get if you decide to get one. You don't have to, but it would be very recommended to do so if you want to get money in the future. Before we get into anything, in case someone's new here, this is my readathon called the Library of Dragons Readathon, which is a D&D based readathon. You get your own dragon, which you start in chapter 1, and then throughout the chapters we're going to be doing rolls. So the next one we do actually in December is going to be ones we actually make rolls with, and I'm so excited to be finally making rolls because rolling dice is fun, right? As usual, there's a Discord for this readathon, so if you want to do that, I'm going to be putting it down in the description below. It is also going to be on the Google document in the Google Drive, so if you have any questions, FAQs, if you have any like the Excel sheets, anything that you want to ask more of, if you want more details of what's happening in this video, just go to the Google document. It's in my Google Drive. It's going to be there for you if you need it. And like I said, any questions that you want to ask, check there before asking on either the Discord or the comment section below. The Discord is optional. I know that sometimes readathons make it so that you have to be in the Discord to know what's happening. If you want to know updates and stuff, you can go in there. You don't have to talk if you don't want to, but also if you want to, you can do that because I love talking to people. If you want to share your ideas for anything, then they are there for you to do so, but you are not ever going to be forced to participate on Discord or social media. If there are any prompts that are going to be based off of social media, so for example, if there's one that you have to post on social media for, there's going to be always an additional prompt that you could do that does not involve the internet. So one that you could just do on your own terms. So if there is anything that says, hey, post this on Discord and share whatever this prompt is with people, there's always going to be a secondary prompt that you can do, anyone could do, where you can just do that instead. That way you're not forced to use Discord. This is also a side quest. It could be completed at any time you want. Chapters must be done in sequential order, so you have to do chapter 1, 2, 3, etc. But side quests can be done at any time, so you could do chapter 1, side quest 1, side quest 2, chapter 2 if you want to. There is more of an order to it if you do it in order, but it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, side quests are optional. You don't even have to do them if you don't want to, but I do recommend doing it if you want to get trust points. Completing side quests get you more trust points. Completing chapters will get you more currency, and we'll talk about that soon. If you just want to skim this is going to be on the document, so if you want to just skim my video and just go to the timestamps below to go to the prompts, I don't blame you, but this is all going to be in the document, so you could skip this if you want. One of those being around October 6th or sometime within the first week of October is going to be a Halloween event. So this side quest for side quest 2 is going to be one of my shortest ones I'll probably ever do. There's going to be a Halloween event, and then there's going to be the critters coming out in October, and there's so much things happening. I didn't want to bombard you with more prompts, especially because people are behind still, and I still have one book I have to catch up on with my chapter, so I wanted to make this short. This side quest only has 3 prompts and a maximum of 4, although the event has 3 prompts as well, so I just want to make it a little bit easier because that's 6 prompts total if you want to do the event and the side quest. So this is a very short one. It's only, like I said, 3 to 4 prompts for this side quest itself, but if you want to do the event, it's going to be next month in October. I will say you are able to double up on the prompts from this readathon to the event. So for this side quest, if you have a book that can also fulfill the event prompt, I would say it's fine to double up on. I would say at least try reading one separate book for the event. At least try. Or one that's on your TBR that has nothing to do with my readathon. It could be for a Spookalopothon or any other readathon. So if you have a prompt for this readathon and the event readathon and they overlap, you could double up. But I would say, like I said, try at least read one book that's different in my event one, because it'd be kind of unfair to read, you know, the same books and just get all of them. The Halloween event is completely optional. The only reason for that is to get more gold if you want to. And then the critters are also coming out in October. I think I'm going to disperse both of them and put them out one week and then the other week. The critters will not have prompts for books, thankfully, so you don't even have to fulfill book prompts for that. All you have to do is fulfill the prompt that is associated with that critter or like mini tiny dragon, and then you can adopt them. They're 1 gold each, so save up if you want. I'm finally going to be talking about the side quest now, thankfully. This is side quest 2. Choosing your career path. Now for this one, there's going to be a few things you can do with this. There are going to be 2 mandatory prompts, so everyone's going to be completing those ones, and then there's going to be 1 associated with the career that you choose. You are able to choose a second career path, so if you want, you can have like a secondary job or a part-time job along the side of your main job. The only thing with that is that you will get gold right away, so you'll be getting 2 extra gold for this side quest itself, but you won't be getting extra gold for every chapter and side quest after this. I want it to be fair for everyone because I know that some people can't really choose more books to read in the month, so I want it to be fair for everyone. So if you want to do a second job, you will get more money like right away, but you will not be getting more in the future. So for each side quest you have completed thus far, you'll get 5 silver, which I only believe is 1 right now, so you only get 5 silver from the first side quest. And then each chapter that you've completed so far had been 1 gold, so you should be getting at least 2 gold if you have completed both chapters. If you have completed all chapters and the first side quest so far, you would be receiving 2 gold, 5 silver. But from this point forward, if you complete this side quest, you'll be getting 1 gold for each side quest and 3 gold for each chapter. So I'll explain on the document. There's also going to be a currency tracker. So there's an Excel sheet for a currency tracker. It'll be in the main Google Drive, so it should all be there at the front. I made sure I wrote all the ways that you can earn money down, so that way you are not confused as to how it works. There are a few other ways to earn currency, but I'm going to talk about that at the end of this. Let me just go to the prompts and tell you what the side quests are and what options are for the career paths. So we finally got to the part of the video where I talk about the prompts. Finally. I will say before I do this that there are some that are kind of like duplicates of other ones I've done before, or at least very similar to other ones I've done before. Now listen, I think there's like 21 or so career paths, and I have to make hundreds of prompts, so I apologize if any of them are kind of similar, but you're gonna have to work with me with that. It's just gonna be hard for me to make unique prompts for hundreds and hundreds of prompts. So hopefully that's okay with you guys, but from this point forward, I'm gonna talk about the prompts. The first mandatory prompt is going to be the Dragon's Hoard. This is going to be reading a book that has either silver or gold on the cover. It could also be under the dust jacket if you want to, or it could also be a color that's similar to silver or gold. This is a good example. See, there's not any foiling on this cover, but there are rings on this, which obviously are gold. There's also these colors of these plants, or the leaves, which are very similar to gold. The weapon would have been silver/steel, so I would count that. So anything that has a similar color scheme to gold or silver will work, like this, for example. The secondary mandatory prompt is closing your shift. For this one, you have to read a book that ends in the page number 3 or 5, so 533, 225, anything that ends in a 3 or a 5. This one's kind of difficult and a bit particular. If you cannot find a book for the life of you, you can also make this prompt a little bit easier for yourself, and as long as it has the number 3 or 5 in the last page, it works. 234 would work, 522 would work. As long as it has 5 or 3 in the end, it would count. I'm just gonna say to make it easier, but if you want to make it harder for yourself, try to make it end in 3 or 5. Which would be kind of hard to do. So these are all the careers. I'm going to try to go through them quickly and not kind of describe them too much because I think they're mostly self-explanatory. Some of these career paths you have to have certain qualifications for, either a certain dragon type, a certain building in your realm. If you don't have the building, you're allowed to go back and actually rebuild it before doing the prompt. If you want a certain career path and you can't get it because you do not have the prerequisite, then either try to fulfill that prerequisite, or if it's one that's based off of something that you literally cannot change, then you can't really take it. But if you want to take it, just don't tell me, I don't know about it. The first few do not have any qualifications, so anyone can do them. The first one's going to be a apothecary shopkeeper. If you want to be working in an apothecary, then you have to read a book featuring witches, wizards, or medicine. Or all 3. It could be about them, it could be on the cover, it could be in the title, whatever you want to do. The next one is going to be a storyteller. For the storyteller career, you have to read a book with multiple POVs. As long as it's more than 1, it will count. The next is going to be a monster hunter. If you want to be slaying monsters and evil in the world, you have to read a book featuring monsters. This can be anything you want, anything that you think would be considered one, cyclops, griffins, pretty much anything you can think of that is not, seen as a good creature or monster, that counts. If you want to be the traditional D&D character, you can be an adventurer, someone that goes around the realm and finds different job opportunities and doesn't really stuck in one space. They kind of just go everywhere and do anything. This is to read a book featuring travel or quests. From this point forward, all of these are going to have some type of prerequisite, so something that you have to have in order to have these jobs. I will tell you what they are as I go. So the first one is going to be a soldier or army commander. In order to do this, you have to have barracks in your realm, so that way you have a place for these people to go. If you want to be a soldier or army commander, you have to read a book featuring war. This could be nonfiction or fiction. Fantasy is a very easy one to do this with. If you have a cafe in your realm, you can be a barista, which I think is kind of fun. You can also have like pastries in your shop. It's whatever you want. You don't only have to have coffee, but it's kind of like Legends and Lattes if you want that kind of vibe for your character. If you want to be a barista, then you have to have a book with brown on the cover. It doesn't have to be the whole book. It doesn't have to be very, very, very obvious. It has to be at least obvious enough though that you can see it. It can't be like a speck in the background. Even this Misformed book, I say would count it. There is a decent amount of brown, different shades of brown, but it's still brown. And then also the spine in the back has brown on it. If you have a castle in your realm, you can be royalty. You can be a king, a queen, a princess, a duchess. You can be whatever you want to be in this realm as long as you have a castle. If you want to be royalty of any kind, you have to read a book with a main character being some type of royalty. So it has to be a POV or just a protagonist that is a prince, a princess, a king or queen, anything in that realm that'll count for this. If your realm has a school, you have the opportunity to be a professor or a philosopher. If you want your character to be one of these, you have to read a book that features a tutor, a teacher, someone that's kind of helping teach the main character. A lot of fantasy books do this, like I said again. As long as it's like a non-parental figure that's helping the protagonist, that works. Next one you have to be a bard for. Now technically your character can be an artist and a musician, but if you want to be a artist or musician as a job, you have to have a character that is a bard. I wouldn't really be too upset if you made this your part-time job if you are someone that is not a bard, but I definitely think this is something that is very like bard-ish. For this, you have to read a book with either an instrument on the cover or a book featuring a musician, music of any kind, or anything to do with art. So it could be someone that's a painter. It can have something on the cover that reminds you of a painting or something like that. So as long as it has one of those qualifications, you can be a musician or an artist. The next career path is for your character. You have to be a rogue to have this career, and this is going to be a thief. Now, like I said, your character could be a thief, but this is going to be the main expertise for a rogue. It is very rogue heavy to be a thief and pickpocketing people. For this prompt, you cannot include humans, so I apologize to anyone that reads romance that wants to do this, but you have to have something on the cover that you would love to steal. It could be you or your character, doesn't matter, but something on the cover that you would just love to take. It doesn't have to be something that you really, really want yourself. Like I said, Kingdom of Flesh and Fire had a ring on it. That'd be a good thing to steal because you get a lot of money for it. It could even be a weapon. It could be anything you want. As long as you or your character would steal it, then I would say you can count that for the book. The next career is going to be the Knight of the Royal Guard. For this one, you have to have two different prerequisites. You have to have at least a castle and royalty. If you have no one for them to guard, you have no point to have guards in your realm. If you want to be a knight for the king and the queens, princesses, whatever is in your realm, then you have to read a book that has armor on the cover. It doesn't have to be steel armor, it can be leather armor. As long as it's armor in some type of way, it counts. If your realm has a temple, ruins could probably work for this if you want to be really interesting about your character. You can be a priest or a priestess. Maybe the temples are now destroyed and they are ruins, but you're still a priest or priestess. Maybe you still believe in the religion that you have despite the fact that it has fallen. There's a lot of cool ideas you can do with this, but this is going to be the prompt for reading a book about gods. I kind of did this already, but I think this makes the most sense. Mythology is a really easy way to do this, or just retellings with gods in them. You can also read nonfiction. You can also read things about modern religion. It doesn't have to be about mythology. If you have a library in your realm, it cannot be really a self-library. It has to at least be the other two options. As long as it's a library that's public for everyone to go to, you can be a librarian or scribe. So you could be a scribe and a librarian, or you could just be one or the other. If you want to be a librarian or a scribe, you have to read a book about books. I know G just did this, so if you're having a really hard time and you had to do this for G's readathon, for the Reading Readathon, I would say if you read it within September, I would say it's okay to count. Only because I know that it's hard to find a book about books, and it was just in the Reading Readathon. So if you're having a really hard time with this one, I don't mind if you were to use the book from September from the Reading Readathon and count this. I would prefer if you read a different book, but I know it's kind of hard to find more books like that, so I understand if you can't find another one, it's okay. The next one is going to be a topographer. This is someone that maps out your realm or the world and goes around exploring it and kind of mapping it out and doing their own maps and so on and so forth. The prerequisite for this one is that you have to have a dragon that you can ride. So in order for your character to map out the realm and the world, they have to be able to be above it so that they can see the topography below them. So if you want to be a topographer, you have to make sure you have a dragon that you can ride. So for this, you have to read a book with a map, a compass, a magnifying glass, or a planet on the cover. Now we're going to the dragon types. Now these are all going to be based off of the type of dragon you have. So like the fire breathing dragons, the water dragons, the blood dragons, whatever dragon you have. Only one exception in that, but everything else is going to be only your certain type of dragon element. You do not need to choose this if your element of the dragon is associated with this. So these are not mandatory to choose just because your dragon has this element. So don't worry about feeling pressured to do these. It's just that if you want to do one of these, they have to be your dragon type. So for healing dragons, you can be a nurse or a doctor. Your character can of course be a healer in some way. They could have magic and be really good at healing. So I'm going to say that if you have a character that is based heavily off of a healer, a cleric, someone that specializes in that, I would say that that would count as well. But usually nurses and doctors are people that have healing dragons because healing dragons are really good at healing people and helping people. So this one is especially for healing dragons themselves or people with those dragons. This one's a little bit tricky. You have to read a book featuring a healer of any kind, a doctor, nurse, object on the cover. So as long as there's someone in that profession in your book or something similar to that, you can choose a book for that. For the water dragons, if you want to be a pirate or fisherman or anyone within that realm of, on the seas, you have to read a book set in or on the ocean, the sea, water, in any type of way. As long as it's in, around, water, it will count for this prompt. If you want to be a mortician or a grave digger, someone that works with the dead, you'll have to have a necromancy or shadow dragon. This is to read a book with dirt on the cover, graves, any type of symbolism of death, like skulls on the cover of your book. This will count for that. It can also be in the book, so if there's death in the book, that will also count for that. If you have a celestial dragon, which I feel like a lot of people do, and it's one of my favorite type of elements for this readathon, that is going to be an astronomer. This one's pretty self-explanatory. This is to read a book with a moon, sun, or stars on the cover in any way you want. If you have a fire dragon, you can have the opportunity to become a blacksmith, and for that you have to read a book with a weapon on the cover. The next one has a few options, so you don't only have to have a certain type of dragon type, but there is obviously going to be a few ways that you can get to this. If you want to be a florist or a gardener, you have to have a light or earth dragon. You could also choose this career if you are a druid or if you have a tiny or small dragon. The way I picture this is that the tiny and small dragons would be able to like harvest the berries and the seeds and kind of like help you bury them. I find that to be completely endearing. If you want to be a florist or a gardener, you have to read a book with flowers on the cover or foliage. But anything that is not grass, that is green, essentially. For the ice dragons, you are going to be opening up a frozen treat shop, someone that does ices and ice creams and kind of like the opposite of the cafe in a way. For this, you have to read a book in a cold setting or in like a polar setting. The last one is going to be for my blood dragons. This is going to be the blood donation drive for dragons. So this is going to be a place where people will donate blood, not really only their own, but anyone that really wants to give and donate blood to a little area. So that way blood dragons, they usually have a bad rep. They're seen as evil because they absorb, the blood from their enemies to survive. For this, you have to read a book with at least 25% red on the cover. So at least a quarter of it. It doesn't have to be in one location. It could be dispersed. As long as you can confidently say it's at least 25%, it will count. I will also count the back of the book. The spine isn't really 25%, so I would say the back and the front, as long as there's at least 25% on one of them or both combined, it will count. That is all the careers that you can choose from. Like I said, you can only choose one as your primary one and one as a secondary one or like a part-time one, maybe you volunteer at, whatever you want to do. Like I said, this is a very short one, I know, but there's going to be an event in September. There's going to be Spookopalathon, and so I don't want you to feel overwhelmed by all the choices. So yeah, this is a really short one. Hopefully you can catch up because December is the next one. Usually it's in November, but I'm not making us read only 1 month in between readathons. That is a little too much for me. There is going to be a new schedule for the readathon for next year, so I'm going to make sure that I am more prepared for that one. If there are any careers that you decide that you want to do that are not on this list, I would say as long as it's something similar to one of the prompts, you can do it. So for example, if you want to do a job that is not on the list, but it's similar to something else, you can just choose the prompt that is most associated with it and just link them together. You can make any job you want in your own mind, as long as, like I said, it has something to do with it. So if you have a certain element of a dragon, but you have a really cool idea for that element, you can do that. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do. Once you complete this side quest, you'll be receiving 1 gold. If you do a second job or another prompt, you'll be getting 3 gold total. If you want to get gold, I think it's recommended to do that because there's going to be a few things in the future that will make you be spending your gold. One of those being the Critter Cafe. Like I said, that's going to be something that happens in October. It's kind of like a cat cafe, but instead of cats, it's dragons. It's completely aesthetic. There's no reason to be getting them other than that they're cute, and I think that's enough. But you do not need to get them if you don't want to. If you want to save your gold, then just don't get them. There are other ways you can also get currency. There are 2 different ways to do that. The one that is going to be easiest for everyone to do is series. If you complete any series from the start of 2024, so January of 2024 onward, however long my readathon kind of continues, every single time you read and complete a series that you started from that point forward, you will be receiving silver for. Each book, I believe, is 4 silver each. If you read a 4-book series, that is 16 silver, which equates to 1 gold. 6 silver. If you read a book with a novella, it will only be 2 silver because it's a shorter book, but that'll all be written down in the document. So like I said, finishing series will get you money. So make sure you prioritize finishing your series. It doesn't have to be a part of my readathon, it's just any series ever. So if you started a book in the end of 2023, you cannot unfortunately count it. But if you started it in 2024 onward, you can count them. The other way of getting currency is the one I said might be a bit tricky for certain people. For someone like me that I really want to support libraries, this is going to be perfect for me. For every single library book that you read for my prompts for the readathon, you'll be receiving silver. You get 5 silver for each book, so that's 3 gold I've gotten just from reading library books. So the more library books you read, for my readathon, not outside of it, but for my prompts for my readathon, you'll be getting silver for. I really love libraries. I really want people to support them. I'm hoping this will make people pick up library books once in a while. I know some people really like to buy their books. I know a lot of people don't have a lot of selection at their libraries, and I really do apologize for that. There are other ways you can get money, I promise you, but it's just that I want to have an option for people that read library books because I really love them and I want to support them and I want to show my appreciation for them, because I feel like a lot of readathons don't really give much rewards for people that read library books, and I think that people deserve it. I also see this as like you're saving up money, because instead of buying a book, you're getting it from the library, so your character is saving up money, so they get money in return. That's kind of how I kind of consider this as an option. But if you double up on a book, you only get 5 silver one time. So if you have 2 prompts on one book, you only get 5. You do not get 10. It has to be individual books that get the 5 silver, not the prompts. So it's the book itself that's giving you the 5, not the prompts. There's also other ways to get currency. There's going to be nat 20s. If you get a nat 20 when we do our rolls in the future, so in December, if you get one, you get 2 gold just right away, and you also get to read a mood read instead of doing the prompt. There's also paths you can take, people that you can meet, and things that you can do that will also get you currency in the future. So don't worry about not being able to fill all of these. If you don't really read series, if you don't really get library books, there's going to be many ways for you to get things in the future. So there will also be item shops in the future that you can get spell books from, spell scrolls, potions. That will be happening in 2025, so keep an eye on that. But from this point forward, I think I might be done with this video. Like I said, once you complete the side quest, you have potential to have 10 trust points. If you have 10 trust points by this point, you'll be getting an attack and a heal up, depending on if you are going to be an attacker or a healer when the battles start to happen. That just means that your die is going to be higher. So instead of, like, for example, a D8, you'll be getting a D10, or instead of a D10, you'll be getting a D12, etc., etc. I know a lot of things are happening and some people are behind, so I'm going to try my best to be a bit easy on everyone and make this a bit shorter. I'm not going to make it too difficult. The one in December also won't be too long either. I will say maybe about 5 prompts for each person maximum, and like I said, you can double up on prompts, so hopefully that's not too hard. Keep an eye out in October for anything that's coming out. The event's happening in there, and there's also going to be the critters. Hopefully you're not too behind on this readathon. There's so many of them out there, so I understand if you are. There's no pressure to complete this. Take your time. There is no time frame. You are not forced to do this within October. You can take a few months. I think I'm going to take a few months to do this because I'm a little bit behind personally, so it's completely fine and valid if you are too. For everyone that is participating, that is planning on participating, who is just doing this with me or just doing this together, just thank you so much. You're the reason why I'm doing this readathon. I'm not doing this for myself only. I like to do this. I like to take part of my own readathon, but having you all with me makes it so much more fun. So just thank you so much for being part of this, participating with me, and having fun with me. I love hearing about your dragons, your artwork of your characters. It just makes my heart so happy. So with that, I hope you have a great end of September. Hopefully October, the spooky vibes are coming and we're having a great Halloween month. And once again, thank you for being here. Goodbye, everyone.